Crafty Friends, Annie Collins here for Pajama Crafters Stamps. Today we're going to create this circle cheer card. Let's go over the products I used. I used the new Pajama Crafters Cheer You Up stamp set. This stamp set has 6 images of cheerleaders, a banner, 2 megaphones, and 5 sentiments, like hoping to cheer you up. That's the one we're using today. Hey girl, hey, you got this. I'll always be your biggest cheerleader, and more. So we're going to use this along with we're going to use this girl, the banner, and hoping to cheer you up as our sentiment. We're going to bring in the spring plaid paper pad. I'm going to use this plaid paper here. This is the other side because these are double-sided. So I like this pink one. I thought it would go great with our cheerleaders. So I've already stamped and fussy cut my sentiment, my cheerleader. I'm going to use, like I said, this one with the 2 pom-poms and our little banner right there. Now the banner I trimmed close to the cheerleader. I left a little edge. So here is my pattern paper, which I've die cut with a die from my stash in a circle, some layering pink cardstock, and heavy 110-pound white cardstock, which I've also die cut using a Deckle Circle because I thought it looked the best like the pom-pom, or it matched the style. All right, so let's start by coloring. I'm going to bring in my alcohol markers. I'm going to use my OLOs. And I also have Copic, so I'll put in the description box below the compatible too. You can color your images with however or whatever coloring medium you like. I'm going to zoom in a bit for while I color. And I'll go over the colors as we start. I'm going to use RV 0.2 and RV 0.4. And that's going to be for our banner. And again, I'll post the Copic colors in the description as well. I was leaving the caps, but for this part, I guess I left it too far out of screen. Here we go. I showed it, but I will adjust. You'll see. So I started with my lightest, and I filled the first little banner triangle in, and the second. And now I'm going to go with the darkest color just to create a little shadow and blend that in. There you go. And then I'm going to repeat the process for the other 2. Again, I start with my lightest, fill in the entire background, and then I'll add a little shadow just beneath the little string that holds the banner up and on one end, because I know I'm going to be hanging this in an angle, so I'm creating my little bit of shadow. I kept most of the colors like really basic, 1 or 2 per space. So there, I'm blending that out. And now for the string, I'm going to use CG5, which is a cool gray 5, if you're using your Copics. All right, I'm going to fill this in. And that's for that. There, we're done with our banner. Now I'm going to bring in our little cheerleader. We're going to use the same colors for our pom-poms. I'm going to fill in the entire pom-pom with the lightest color, which is the RV 0.2. And then I'm just going to dot in the RV 0.4 just to create the movement and the shadows in the pom-pom. Going to do that, fill that in. And again, just dot it in, make it easy. That just creates that little shadow that we need in our pom-pom. And then for our bow, I'm going to start with the darkest and I'll blend out with the lightest, the same colors. We're going to use the same colors in the band of her uniform here. I'm going to give her a little crop top type cheer outfit. You can have the full top or the little crop top. So I'm going to do a little crop top. So I'm going to fill in the whole thing on with the lightest and just the ends with the darkest to create that nice curvature. For her sneakers, I'm going to do just the lightest color because her shoes should coordinate her outfit, of course. And then the cool gray 5 for the soles of her sneakers. I'm bringing in a cool gray 1 or C1 just to add a little shadow to the white part of her uniform because although it's going to be white, white has some shadow to it. Now we're going to move on to her skin. I'm using R 0.2 for her cheeks and her little belly button. That's just like a rosy color. And then I'm going to use OR 3.2 for her overall tone of her skin. And then I'll bring in an OR 3.4 for the shadows. So I'm just going to get that little bit there. There it is, the OR 3.4. I'm going to add her little shadows, a little more to the bridge of her nose, the shadow just beneath her pom-poms on her arms, where her skirt would lie, that would cast a little shadow. And then I'm going to blend this all in again. I wish I would have remembered and put the rosy cheeks again, but I forgot. So now I'm going to do her hair. I'm going to do 2 tones for her hair. I'm going to do the overall light color, which is the OR 4.4. And then I'm going to go in with the darkest, following the drawn lines of the stamp right there. Just going to follow those exactly. Darkest near the bow, and then just flick out. Okay. And we're done. Our little girl's done. These images aren't very big, so they're quick and easy to color. So there they are. Now I'm zoomed back out to normal size, and we're going to start putting our card together. So I cut 2 of these out of heavyweight cardstock. This is how I create my circle card. I'm going to just move in just about a little bit off there, and I'm just going to score it. Not quite a half of an inch, just shy of half of an inch. And I'm just going to score it, and then I will fold this and reinforce my score. I'm just pointing, see, I just didn't make the quite half inch. There we go. Now I'm going to reinforce this. I'm going to bend it, score it. I'll do this both ways so that my card opens nicely. And reinforce it one more time. Okay, now we have that little hinge for our card. So here's the other piece. So now with this Deckle die that I use, it has like a little flat end, and I'm going to use that as my anchoring so I know where I'm going. See that little flat end? So I just put a little adhesive on that little hinge I created. I line up those ends and press it. Now, if you're using circle dies or cutting circles by hand, just line up your circles. Now I have my pattern paper. I'm going to adhere that to my layering pink cardstock that's right here. This cardstock is about, I believe, 65 weight. The card bases are 110, I believe. And then our pattern paper. And I'm not going to like this because I realize, oh, wait, I want to use the lines of my plaid paper here as anchors. I'll explain that in a second. So now I have that adhered. I'm going to adhere now this panel onto our card base. Again, I'm going to use, for my purposes, the little flat end there as my anchor, so to speak, so I can line up my paper. Again, if you're just using plain circle dies, you don't have to worry about that. All right, so there we go. There's our card, easy flip, ready to go. So now I'm going to put these 2 heavy acrylic blocks on top to hold, make sure everything is nice and adhered while we put some foam adhesive behind our little cheerleader. So I'm just going to put little adhesive dots here, or squares, whatever they are. They're squares on the back of our cheerleader. I'm going to cut one in half so I can put it on the back of her shoes here. And then I'll do the sentiment already has foam adhesive behind it. I did that off screen when I was prepping for this card. I would have put the foam adhesive behind her, but we colored her on screen. All right, so I'm just going to remove all the backing, just prepping everything, giving my card a few seconds more to just make sure it adheres. There's our banner, and I'm looking at my banner and I have a white edge. I don't mind so much on the girl because I left a little white edge when I cut her out, but the banner I cut directly, like right close up. So to fix that, I just grabbed my Memento marker and rubbed it all across the ends. Reason I'm using my Memento marker and not an alcohol marker is because I colored with alcohol markers, and then they can react to one another. So there's my banner, all the edges nice and clean. Here's my sentiment. I'm going to remove the backing off of that. I'm just prepping everything, getting it ready to finish off our card. Get these last little bit of backing off of here. There it is. Now I stamped and fussy cut my sentiment nice and close. You don't have to do that. You can just stamp directly on your card, on just a shape you cut out, or just a simple square or rectangle, whichever you prefer. I like the way that looked. All right, so I'm going to start by adhering our banner. I just put a few dots and then I ran some liquid adhesive along that little string there. Okay. And I'm going to curl up the little banner edges. Well, if I can get it up, just a little bit, just to give a little movement. That may not, if I'm mailing this, most likely will just flatten out, but it's just for fun, just a little movement. There we go. I'm going to situate my card and then, oops, I lost a little foamy thing here. All right, I'm going to grab my cheerleader and then you see that solid pink line right there. I'm going to pretend that's my floor. Now, if I need more space, I can move it down to the green lines, but I'm hoping to keep her there on the pink line. I'm going to do the same thing with the pink line up here. I'm going to use that to anchor my sentiment. That looks good. See that pink line? That's the one I'm using to anchor my sentiment. And now I know my girl fits nicely, so I can leave her there. But if I wanted more space, I'll just move, I can move her down to one of those green lines or blue lines, whatever that color is, right there. All right, so now for finishing touches. I'm going to bring in from my stash 2 different shades of pink gems. I'm going to use the darker ones to anchor the, what am I thinking of the banner. And then I'm going to use the lighter ones throughout. So here's the darker ones. I'm going to put one on each end of my banner right there. So now it looks like it's anchored. I'm going to move this one that I put up here over a bit into this little space. Nope, I like it better here. All right. And then I'm going to put 2 more down here. I'm going to put a mix of the lighter and the darker. I used the small lighter and a medium of the darker. And I think I like that. That should be good enough for me. And now our card is complete. Super cute, super easy. I love that deckle edge looks just like the pom-pom, or at least it reads that to me. But you can just use circles and create this card yourself. So we use the spring plaid paper pad. That's, you get 48 double sided sheets of that, and the Cheer You Up stamp set. Again, this has 6 cheerleaders, 2 mega horns, and no mega, whatever that, megaphones, a banner, and wonderful sentiments. I will have everything linked in the description box below. Here's another look at our card. Thank you for being here, and I hope you found some inspiration.